much more like you would look at a crime scene. You would use the best investigative methods, say from forensics, and you would take eyewitness testimony and understand the perils of giving too much credence to eyewitness testimony. And you would overturn every rock and look in every nook and cranny, not just turn out the lights and spook yourself on camera.
Yeah, it's rather amazing that you have so many people who are calling themselves researchers, parapsychologists, and investigators who know nothing about what they're talking about.
Right. So many of these characters know nothing just about basic investigative methods. Seems to me if you're going to look into a claim, you should apply the best methods that researchers have. And that, when you're looking at paranormal scenes, that seems to be coming from forensics, actually looking at evidence. If there was a visitation, did the poltergeist leave anything behind? Can we study it? Can we look at it? As opposed to doing what so many of these investigators fall into, which is looking at very loosey-goosey evidence and falling into the psychological pitfalls of really the cognitive biases that let our big brains put meaning into the noise. So you remember back in the 70s there was backmasking, with music. Well, now there's the white noise where you just record something and you listen to it backwards or maybe even forward, and then you try to figure out what the message is. Right. And this is an oral version, kind of an audio version of pareidolia, which is a function of the brain to make sense out of noise or out of let's say, insignificant data. So anyone can do this. You look up at the clouds, and if you're somewhat creative, you can see faces in the clouds. That does not mean that there's a big giant head floating in the blue sky. No, it's that we have an ability to make meaning out of that data. And that's what so many of these paranormal researchers, in quotes researchers, because I don't consider it real research, that's what they do when they're looking for evidence of the paranormal.
When we talk about evidence in the paranormal, one of my biggest bones of contention with the Roswell UFO crash is how Jesse Marcel himself, supposed to be a highly trained military intelligence operator, broke the chain of custody with what he claimed to have been the most important piece of evidence in the UFO the UFO discussion argument. When he left the ranch with what he claims to have been UFO parts, went home to his family, woke his family up, let them manipulate the evidence, and then took the evidence back to the airbase. No one has been able to tell me why this has not been questioned.
Well, I think it has been questioned by skeptics, but for the credulous, they don't think about evidentiary claims like that. If you believe that Roswell is an example of an alien visitation, you're not going to let contrary lines of evidence suggest otherwise. You kind of begin with the belief and then only look for those lines of evidence which support your prior belief. What really amazes me about the Roswell claim or so many of these other visitation claims, alien visitation reports, is that social science tells us a whole lot about eyewitness reports, about eyewitness testimony, and how messy that is and how unreliable that is. And yet in UFO sighting after UFO sighting, the believer community, the credulous, the UFO community, they take reports at face value, assuming that, well, the guy would have no reason to lie, therefore what he's saying is true. And there's a third option there. A person can be believing that they're telling the truth and still be flat out wrong. You get this in our criminal justice system all the time with eyewitness testimony that's just plumb wrong, but it's not a lie exactly, it's just incorrect.
Because the person giving the testimony believes beyond a shadow of a doubt he's telling the truth.
Exactly. Yeah. Even though, because of reconstruction of memory and because of how unreliable eyewitness testimony is, he or she's not telling the truth. I mean, I don't want to sound too new age about this, but yes, in a sense, he's telling his personal truth, yes, right? And that he's not lying. He's sincere.
Right.
But you can be sincere and still be wrong at the same time.
Why do you both think, or why do members of the foundation believe, how has Roswell stayed alive for this long without having any evidence whatsoever to substantiate any of the claims being made by any of the researchers?
I think it's a pop culture phenomenon. It is explained in the social sciences when we look at the growth of widespread beliefs. Mm-hmm. And indeed, that's what the James Randi Educational Foundation is interested in, these widespread beliefs. UFOs, you mentioned Roswell,
yes.
Ghosts, cryptozoology, what's called complementary and alternative medicine, a lot of alternative kind of, I'd say, questionable medical modalities. All of these are believed in widely, despite the fact that there's not a whole lot of evidence. There's somewhat outside the bounds of science. There's not a lot of evidence to support them. And I think sometimes this isn't just a matter of personal belief, but that these beliefs cause great harm. Now, if you believe in a U.S. government cover-up about Roswell and you believe that we have been visited in the 40s, that's not immediately going to be the most harmful false belief. I think it might open the doors to other sloppy thinking. It might make you a little more gullible, a little more susceptible to being beguiled by other hucksters. But many of these beliefs hit you where you live and breathe. If you have appendicitis and you go to a psychic surgeon instead of the ER, you will die. And that's just one sort of example that many of these false beliefs have real-world consequences. And it's not a matter of merely having a different perspective, but that believing something false can harm you.
DJ, stand by. We've got to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Exo Nation DJ Grothe is our special guest, or Grothe is our special guest. He is the president of the James Randi Educational Foundation. The website is www.randi.org. That's RANDI.org. 1-800-610-7035 worldwide toll-free. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. I'll be back on the other side of this news break with DJ as we continue talking about, well, what it's like to be open-minded, closed-minded, and then what it's like to be, well, in your own little mind, your own little way of thinking that you're right and the rest of the world is wrong. We'll be back. Don't go away. Are you considering calling a psychic to read your situation? Then consider David Champion, a psychic medium for more than 20 years with thousands of readings under his belt. David Champion will make you feel comfortable. He has proven to be honest and accurate. He's a straight shooter. There's no guesswork. What he sees is what you get. While he is a medium, most of the calls focus on relationships, not only love, but work, school, neighbors, and more. Need help with finding a job and preparing for the interview? Are you dealing with people who are obstacles in your path? For more information, go to davidchampion.com, $1.50 per minute paid by credit card with a minimum of 30 minutes. For your reading with David Champion, call 1-877-702-8598. That's 1-877-702-8598. Now you can dial in to listen to the X Zone Radio Show from anywhere in the world with Rob McConnell 24/7, 365 by dialing 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080. If you have a mobile phone or landline, the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is now at your beck and call at 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080, 24/7, 365. You're listening to the X Zone Radio Show, live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, and Star Cable. Our toll-free telephone number worldwide is 1-800-610-7035. Our email address, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com.
I made love to an alien near Roswell last night. We strolled along together in the pale moonlight. I had a funny feeling that something wasn't right. I made love to an alien last night. When she gripped my hand, I was feeling mighty fine, but her fingers with mine would not intertwine. When I bent down and gazed into her eyes, they were big as donuts and blacker than the sky.
Welcome back, everyone. J Grothe is our special guest. He's the president of the James Randi Educational Foundation, www.randi.org. DJ, in your opinion, what is the most dangerous scam out there that people are being taken in by?
Well, I think it's hard to rank them, but one that I focus on, partly because of my own background as a magician and psychic entertainer, and because I've seen firsthand the harm these beliefs can cause, it would be belief in psychics and spiritual mediums, psychic advisors, and when people go to them for big problems they're facing in their lives. That's one I focus on. Although it should be said, the Randi Foundation, our attention runs the gamut through all of these untested, unsupportable claims, and we especially focus on the kinds of beliefs that we think cause measurable harm.
You know, we've had psychics on the show before. We open up the lines, and people always call in with the same questions: romance, employment, money. That's it. They're always the three same questions. And my question to these callers is, well, are you looking for a new job? Are you looking for new love? And are you doing what you can on your own to increase the money that you want? It's that simple. Like, why do people have to go to somebody on the outside to find out whether or not they are going to achieve their goals? Is there any psychological explanation for this, DJ?
As a matter of principle, that's one reason I bristle at this whole psychic advisor industry, really. It's that believers in those advisors, they give up a whole lot of personal responsibility over to someone who's not really qualified to give that sort of advice. Your question about is there a reason why people tend to always seek advice for the same sorts of things? Well, I believe that fact is well capitalized on by a segment of professional psychic advisors. If you know, and it's a numbers game, that the woman walking through your door in your psychic advisor shop, your astrology den, or whatever it is, if you know that they're going to ask the same sorts of questions, you can typically give the same sorts of answers. And indeed, this is one of the methods that we've understood that psychics often use, a set of psychological tricks to say the same sorts of advice to everyone. And doggone it, if the same sorts of advice to everyone doesn't generally apply to everyone, not specifically, but generally. And that's because we are all people. We're all human. We all experience the same sorts of ups and downs in our lives. We all have money problems typically, or relationship problems, career questions, health issues, and that's one of the things that that really gets me going so much about these psychics, is that they prey on those natural life cycle kind of human experiences